Hello everyone, it's me again, Joseph, your host, and welcome back to our channel and the Catechism for Kids. Today we're going to journey back in time to medieval Germany to meet a truly amazing and inspiring young saint. Have you ever felt like you were too young to do something really important for God? Well, the story of Blessed Everard of Stahleck shows us that age is just a number when it comes to having a big heart for Jesus. Let's dive in and learn about this incredible teenager who became a hermit, a monk, and a spiritual guide. Blessed Everard's story begins in a grand castle in a region of Germany now known as Rhineland-Palatinate, around the year 1165. He wasn't just any boy. He was born into a very powerful and noble family, the Counts of Stahleck. Imagine growing up in a real castle, surrounded by knights, lords, and ladies. As a young boy, Everard served as a page in the court at Heidelberg. This was a special job for noble boys, where they learned manners, service, and prepared for a life of importance in the world. He was on a path to become a powerful nobleman himself, with land, titles, and honor. But even in this busy, fancy world of the court, Everard's heart was drawn to something entirely different. He wasn't dreaming of becoming a famous knight or a wealthy lord. Instead, he felt a deep, quiet pull towards a life of prayer and closeness with God. This feeling, this special call from God, is what we call a vocation. While other boys his age might have been practicing sword fighting or learning about politics, Everard was listening to a whisper in his soul, a whisper that invited him to a life of holiness. He wanted to give his entire life to God, not just a little part of it. This desire grew stronger and stronger as he entered his early teens. Everard knew exactly where he wanted to go, the Cistercian Abbey of Schönau, a monastery near Heidelberg. The Cistercians were monks known for their simple life of prayer, work, and silence. It was the perfect place for a young man who wanted to escape the noise of the world and focus only on God. So full of hope and determination, young Everard went to the monastery and asked to join, but he was turned away. The monks told him he was simply too young. They also pointed out that he didn't have the formal education required to become a monk. Most boys who entered monasteries at that time had studied Latin and other subjects for years. Everard, having been a page, hadn't had that kind of schooling. Did Everard give up? Not at all. He waited a little while and then went back to the Schönau Abbey a second time. Again, he knocked on the door, and again, he was told no. "You are still too young," they said. For most people, being rejected twice would be enough to make them quit. They might think, well, I guess this isn't for me. But Everard's love for God was stronger than his disappointment. He was so convinced that this was his calling that he decided to try one more time. He returned to the monastery for a third time, pleading to be let in. And for a third time, the answer was no. Imagine how that must have felt. 3 rejections. It would have been so easy for him to feel discouraged and believe that a holy life wasn't his path. He could have gone back to his family's castle and accepted the comfortable, noble life that was waiting for him. But Blessed Everard did something truly remarkable, something that shows us the strength of his faith. Instead of giving up on his dream, he decided that if he couldn't live in a monastery with other monks, he would create his own monastery of one. At the age of just 16, Everard found a quiet, secluded spot in the forest at a place called Chumbd. There, all by himself, he built a small, simple hut, a hermitage. He left behind the comfort of his castle, the fancy clothes, the fine food, and the company of his family and friends. He chose to live alone in the woods as a hermit. His life became one of deep prayer, fasting, and solitude. His only companion was God. Day and night, he dedicated his time to contemplation, speaking with God in the silence of his heart. This wasn't a phase or a game. It was a serious commitment. He was living the life of a monk, but in a much harder and more isolated way. He traded a warm bed for a hard floor and fancy meals for whatever simple food he could find. He was a teenage boy living a life of radical holiness, completely dedicated to God. News of this holy young hermit living in the woods began to spread. People in the nearby towns and villages were amazed. Who was this young nobleman who had given up everything for a life of prayer? His deep piety and the quiet strength of his faith were like a magnet. Soon, others were drawn to him, not just to see him, but to learn from him. They saw in him a genuine holiness, a true friend of God. His little hermitage became a beacon of light in the forest. This attraction was so powerful that a group of devout women came to him, wanting to dedicate their lives to God in the same way. They wanted to form a community of nuns. And so, with Everard's help and spiritual guidance, a brand new convent for Cistercian nuns was founded right there at Chumbd in the year 1183. The very place where he had started his solitary life of prayer was now becoming a bustling center of faith. And what about Everard? The Cistercian order that had once turned him away now recognized his incredible holiness. They welcomed him, and he officially became a Cistercian monk. He was also made a subdeacon and was given a very important job. He became the spiritual director for the new convent of nuns he had helped to found. The young boy who was once told he was too young and uneducated was now the wise and holy guide for an entire community of nuns. God had turned his rejection into a beautiful new beginning. The story becomes even more personal and touching. Everard's example inspired his own family. Two of his own sisters, who had grown up in the same castle as him, decided to leave their noble life behind and become nuns in the very convent he directed. And one of his brothers was so moved by Everard's faith that he also joined the not as a monk, but as a lay brother, serving the community with his work. Everard's quiet yes to God had a ripple effect that changed his entire family. Blessed Everard lived out the rest of his life serving God and guiding the nuns at Chumbd. He died on November 30th, sometime around the year 1191. He was likely still a very young man, perhaps only in his late 20s. He was buried at the Church of St. Mary at the monastery he had founded. His life was short, but it was incredibly full. So, what can we learn from Blessed Everard of Stahleck? First, he teaches us that you are never too young to have a deep and serious love for God. You don't have to wait until you're a grown-up to pray, to be holy, or to listen to God's call in your life. God speaks to us at every age. Second, he shows us the power of perseverance. When you face a setback, or someone tells you no, don't give up on your good desires. Everard was rejected 3 times, but he didn't let it stop him, found another way to follow his calling. If you feel God is asking you to do something good, keep trying, and trust that he will open a door for you, even if it's not the door you expected. And finally, Everard's story is a beautiful example of humility. He came from a powerful family, but he chose a simple, hidden life. He didn't seek fame or attention. He just wanted to love God. And because of his humility, God lifted him up and used him to do great things, like founding a whole convent. Blessed Everard of Stahleck, this incredible teen hermit, is a powerful friend and role model for all of us. His feast day is November 30th. Let's ask him to pray for us, that we too may have determined. Humble and loving hearts, ready to say yes to God, no matter our age. Thanks so much for watching with us today. If you enjoyed learning about Blessed Everard, please give this video a thumbs up, share, and subscribe to our channel for more stories of the saints. See you next time. Take care, everyone. Stay healthy and hungry for holiness. And may the Lord bless and keep you always.